Family Education Right and Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA. The Family Education Right and Privacy Act grants students certain rights, privileges, and protections relative to individually identifiable student education records maintained by Windhoek University. Definition of student. A student is defined as person taking class at Windhoek University. A person becomes a student when he or she arrives to his or her first class of the summer in which the person first enrolls. If the person is fully matriculated or is at least 18 years old of age by the first day of the student's first semester, then the privacy rights belong to the student. Otherwise, the privacy rights belong to the parents or legal guardian until the student turns 18 or matriculates, whichever comes first. Second, annual notification. Students are notified of their FERPA rights at least once each year by email, by a publication in the university catalog, and on the university's website. This notification permits the release of directory information, see below, without prior written consent of the student. Such notification provides only that directory information may be released. Windhoek University is not obliged by this law to release directory information to any party other than the student. Definition of education records. Education records are those which contain information directly related to the student. Records originating at another institution are also subject to this provision. Education records include, but are not limited to, records from admission, academic progress from academic departments, as well as those maintained centrally, such as in the office of the register, health, financial aid, and student accounting, teacher education. Stop. Career placement, course records, disciplinary proceedings, and similar records. Exclusions from education records. The following are excluded from the definition of education record. Records or notes of instructional and administrative personnel which are in the sole possession of the individual. Faculty notes or progress records in a class unless that information already exists in the form of an education record. Grades of peer grades graded paper before recorded by faculty member. Information maintained by a physician, psychiatrist, psychologist, or paraprofessional used in connection with the provision or of treatment, safety, security, and law enforcement records created or maintained by the Windhoek University Department of Public Safety. Alumni records that are not related to the individual's attendance as a student. Materials or records in any admission file until the student has been admitted to and has attended the Windhoek school or college for which the materials were submitted. Financial information submitted by parents. Confidential letters or recommendations to which the student has raised rights in inspection. In employment records of any individual whose employment is not contingent on the fact that he or she is a student, provided the record is used only in relation to the individual's employment. That's the right to inspect educational records. Students have the right to inspect and review their educational record within 45 days of the day the university received a request for access. When a record contains information about more than one student, the student may inspect and review only the records which relate to him or her. Students wishing to review their records should submit to the university register a written request that identifies the records they wish to inspect. The university register will make arrangements or for access and notify the students of the time and place where the records may be inspected. If the records are not maintained by the university register, he or she should advise the students of the correct official to whom the request should be addressed. So next, copies. The university provides on-campus access to student records. Other than transcript, the university will not ordinarily provide copies unless inability to obtain copies would effectively prevent the student from exercising his or her right to inspect the review of the educational record. The university reserves the right to deny copies of records, including transcripts, in the following situations. The student has an unpaid financial obligation to the university. There is an unresolved disciplinary action against the student. The education record requested is an exam or set of standardized test question. An exam or standardized test, which is not directly related to students, is not an education record subject to FERPA's access provision. Next, right to seek amendment. Students have the right to request the amendment of their education records to ensure they are not inaccurate, misleading, or otherwise in violation of the student's privacy or other rights. The substantive judgment of the faculty member about the student's work, impressed in grades or other violations, is not within the scope of this right to challenge information. Students who believe their report is inaccurate or misleading may request that the university amend the record by writing to the university official responsible for the record. The request should clearly identify the part of the record to be changed and specify why it is inaccurate or misleading. If the university decides not to amend the record as requested by the student, the university will notify the student of the decision and advise the student of his or her right to a hearing regarding the request for amendment. The hearing must be held within 3 weeks of the request, and the student notified the time, date, and place in advance of the hearing. The hearing will be conducted by a hearing officer who is the disinterested party. He or she may, however, be an official of the university. The student will be afforded a full and fair opportunity to present evidence relevant to the issues raised in the original request to amend his or her records. The students may be represented by the individual of his or her choosing, including an attorney at the student's expense. Within 2 weeks of the conclusion of the hearing, the hearing officer will prepare a written decision based solely on evidence presented at the hearing. The decision will include a summary of the evidence presented, the reasons and for the decision. If it is decided that the challenged information is not inaccurate, misleading, or in violation for the student's right or privacy, the university will notify the student that he or she has a right to place in the order a statement commenting on the challenged information and setting forth reason for the disagreeing with the decision. This statement will be maintained as a part of the student's education record as long as the contesting portion is maintained. If the university discloses the contested portion of the record, it must also disclose the statement. Disclosure of the personally identifiable information. Students have the right to consent to disclosure the personally identifiable information contained in their education records. Expect that the information which FERPA authorize disclosure without consent. Representative list of the exception appears below. The university may disclose education records without written consent of the student to school officials with a legitimate education interest, defined as those employees with general or specific responsibilities for promoting the educational object of the university. This includes individual within the institution involved in staging research and related activities such as academic advising, counseling, academic support, supervision of co-curriculum activities, official university community or clubs, financial assistance, medical service, and job placement. So, a school official is a person employed by Windhoek University in administrative, supervisory, academic research, or support staff positions. This includes members of the board of the trustees and a person employed by or under contract with the university to perform special tasks such as an attorney or auditor and agency or institution that provides institutional service or function. It may also include other students serving on official community such as disciplinary or grievance community, or assisting another school official in performing his or her tasks. So, university officials have legitimate education interest if they are performing a task that is specified in their job description. Tasks related to a student's education, including registration and grading, and the charging of tuition and fees and billing related functions, a task related to the discipline of students or service or benefit relating to the student or student's family, such as wealth care, counseling, job placement, or financial aid, or other assistance. Clerical personnel employed to assist university officials in their job performance also may be granted access to student records. Access by all personnel is restricted to that part of the student record necessary for the discharge of assigned duties. The university may grant access as follows to officials at schools, colleges, or universities participating in cross-enrollment programs for the purposes stated in the bullet above. Windhoek University currently exchanges academic information with students crossing the road at King University. If other institutions are added, this arrangement will be automatically extended to included then two secondary institutions, those whose students are enrolling in Window King classes, whether such classes be on the high school campus, the university's campus, or elsewhere. To officials of other college or universities in which the student has applied to seeks to enroll. When Window King University deems it appropriate, Window King may also send corrected or additional records if education records has previously been sent to another institution to accrediting organizations approved by the university carrying out their accrediting functions to any agency in connection with the student's request for or receipt by receipt of financial aid as necessary to determine eligibility amount or conditions of the aid or to enforce the terms and conditions of the aid and the organizations conducting studies approved by the university having educational value or concerning financial aid to parents of an eligible students who claim the student as a dependent for income tax purpose to educational agencies conducting research or for the development of predictive tests. Information may also be released to organizations conducting certain studies on behalf of the university. In these cases, the information may not be used in any way that permits identifications of of an individual student to persons in compliance with judicial order or lawfully issued with a notice of the disclosure being sent to the last known address of the student. To person in an emergency if the in the judgment of an official in charge of the records knowledge of the information is necessary to protect the health or safety of the students or another person to the victim of a crime or violence or non-forcible sex offense, but only the final outcome of the disciplinary proceeding conducted by Window King University to a parent regarding the student's violation of policies governing the use or possession of alcohol or controlled substance. See parental notification in the student's code of conduct and also drug and alcohol policy. Students' names and education email addresses will be available to faculty, staff, or other students on the university's computer network, including the email server and the learning management system. When King University will maintain a record of all requests for and or all disclosure of information to outside agencies from a student's education record. The records will indicate the name of the party making the request, any additional party to whom it may be disclosed, and the legitimate interest of the party has in requesting or obtaining the information. This record may be reviewed by the student. So, directory information. Student directory information may be released without students' prior consent. Windows University defines the following as directory information: student's name, student's identification number, but not password, photos, videos, or electronic images, program of study, including colleges of enrollment, majors, minors, collaterals, concentrations, etc., associated with each level on the graduate or graduate and class year, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, graduate, etc. Students' enrollment load, full-time, part-time, withdrawn, and days of attendance, matriculation status and date, honors and award, including dean's list and graduation honors, title of this and dissertations, degrees received, including date of award, previous institution attended, participations in clubs, sports, or student activities, including positions held, height and weight of members of athletic teams, contact information such as local, permanent, and or electronic. Window King email addresses will be shared only with one honor society or other academic related membership or award. 2. Designated vendors providing the following external services to graduating students: information about purchasing class rings, yearbooks, commencement photos, cap and gown regalia, and professional cards. And 3. Such those as deemed necessary by the university in connection with its operations, including but not limited to liability, insurance, and or legal matters. The names of students on a dean's list may be published in the student's local newspaper. It is the practice of the university to not release a student's age or date of birth except as required by law or as a validation of positive identification of students when furnished by a person making an inquiry. To withhold directory information, students must make a formal request by submitting a signed dated letter to the office of the register by the end of the second weeks of the semester. Students are advised that withholding information may carry certain consequences. For example, as long as non-disclosure order in fact, the student's name will not appear in commencement program and the student's degree will not be verified to potential employers. When King University assumed no liability for honoring the student's instructions to withhold information. 啊？
为什么把它录下来？
我们不会录下来。
那你在干嘛？
我不知道，我这种新的软件 ，additional resources， 这个东西它没有开摄像头，我就不知道为什么，被我关了。以前我没有下这个的，它不会宣明着，它就是直接高清摄像头在这里开一下。
干嘛要搞个壳子啊？
壳子还是搞？
为什么还有电话呀？
什么电话？
你的电话写在后面。
我怕丢了。Additional resources for additional information contact the university register. 结束。